Well, hello again. Good to see you once again. Today I want to bring you something that's similar to things I've shown you previously, but a little bit different. I think this one actually has the potential to provide a much more profitable experience than some of the things I've shown you previously. Not that the things I've shown you previously didn't have the potential to bring some profit, but this, I think, is just a little bit more targeted and probably a little bit better as a system overall. In fact, probably more than a little bit better, but I'll let you be the judge of that. Now, until now, I've mainly been showing you things that work on odds ranges. We've been looking at automated betting strategies, doing various things with various odds ranges, various favorite rankings with their favorite, second favorite, whatever. And that works to an extent, but especially when you're looking at horse racing, there's an entire world of statistics and form and things like that to consider beyond odds ranges that really do push things a little bit further. Now, I'm not stepping away from the idea of automated betting, but the question does become, how do you integrate statistics and form with automated betting? And that's what I want to show you today. So if I take you over to the screen here, this is the ANZ Horse Bot, which I've shown you before, and I've used it before for things that were just related to odds ranges. I've got it set up differently at the moment, so it's actually working more on statistics. Now, I'll come back to that in just a sec, but first, let me show you results from the last 10 days. No, sorry, the last week, rather. What we've got here is 6 different strategies all running in the bot over the last week. 5 of them are backing strategies, 1 of them is a laying strategy. You can see the first 2 back strategies, back 1, back 2, they're actually doing quite well. Now, this is based off the idea of a $1 base stake, but after a losing day, I have been increasing the stake. So you can see here, there was a losing day for back 1 on the 5th. It lost 94 cents, which is almost nothing. So I increased the staking on the second day to $2. It had a shocker of a day, which is unfortunate, but well, it does happen. Then we go to the 7th, and it made a profit, but it still wasn't back in profit overall for that series. So I actually stuck it 3 times there. It made $58 that day, which got it into profit for that series, and you can see it's had another profit for the next series there. So over that week, it made $58.78. Back 2 made $28. The others not doing as well. In fact, you can see back 3 is down $75 at the moment, which doesn't actually surprise me too much. Well, maybe the scope of it does a little, but I might explain that one a little bit later as to why that actually doesn't concern me yet, because history on that one shows me that it should recover quite comfortably. It just is one of those strategies that is going to take time and patience. Back 4 has had a lot of days where it's done nothing, and on the 2 days it has done something, it's lost $1. Back 5 has had a little bit of profit in there, but it's behind overall. The laying strategy is down overall, but again, it's very small. It's $4. It's down almost 5. So back 1 and back 2 undoubtedly are the standout performers at the moment. But well, the question then becomes, well, how did we get there? What did we do to actually get there? So you can see I've got some very brief notes at the top of these as to what they are. So back 1, the text there probably doesn't mean a lot to you just yet. Back 2 makes a little bit more sense. That's a strategy that's looking at maidens that are first up off a spell and have a jockey-trainer combination at the track with a very high win rate. But my thinking there being that if a maiden's been put out for a spell and it's being brought back from the spell and it's got a good jockey-trainer combo, there's probably some reason why it's being brought back from the spell at that stage. And there's a good chance that the market hasn't quite accounted for that, so you might get some decent odds on some winners there. And you can see overall it doesn't get a lot of bets, but it does get some decent, reasonable numbers on a day-to-day basis. So that's digging into the weeds a little bit. Let's go back to how this is working. So as I said, we've got the ANZ bot here, and the back one tab here, the bet settings tab, well, that looks fairly standard and straightforward. This is looking at Australia, New Zealand, including harness, the win market, anything with odds of between $2 and $10. We're betting $1 on it. That's pretty straightforward. But filtering that further is our stat settings here. So in here I've got some settings to show, well, I want the APR rating, which I'll get to in a minute what that actually means, but the APR rating is kind of an overall rating of form. I want it to be in the top 4 in the market. I want a jockey-trainer combination that's got at least an 80% strike rate at that track. And Betfair's prediction ranking, again, I want it in the top 4. So the bot is looking at those settings and determining if any of the horses in the race match those settings. And if they do, it's placing a bet. Pretty simple. Where's it getting its stats? Well, let's have a look at a race coming up. So let's go to the next race up is race 2 at Scone at 110. So we can see our market there. Let's have a look in the stats tab. And here's all these stats that the bot is getting. Now I think it might actually be pulling in slightly more stats than this, but you can see it's pulling in quite a lot of stats. The barrier, the distance, the weight, the days since the last run, the horse's win percentage, place percentage, the Sky Racing ratings, the jockey trainer ratings, win prize amount for the horse, form rating, on and 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 on. Okay, so you can see that. But again, where's it getting its data from? Well, it's getting its data from the Australia New Zealand Horse Ratings website. Now, I should point out both the ANZ bot and the ANZ Horse Ratings website are creations of Steve and Michael, who create pretty much all of the bots that I've been showing you. And they have a number of rating systems for Australia and New Zealand, and for some other places, for both horses and for greyhounds. This is a slightly different one to some of their other horse ratings, but the interface is very similar. So let's just pull up that race at Scone. So we're looking at race 2 at Scone. It's effectively the same data, or actually a slightly smaller subset of the data. If I export the data here into an Excel spreadsheet, I'll actually get all of that data that I saw on the previous screen, and possibly a little bit more. So you can just come in here and look at the website and see these are details for these horses. You can see this system has its own rating system, so the top-rated horse, it thinks Regatta is the best horse in this race, followed by Cumnock, then Diecast Missile and Rapid Ruby. You can see the prices out of Betfair from around the time that you can see that actually just updated, and all of the other details. So the bot gets these details, looks at the race and sees which horses match your criteria, and places the bet accordingly. So that's all well and good, but how do you get to a strategy that you want to use? Well, maybe you have a strategy that you like. Maybe you particularly like betting on favourites that happen to also be maidens. Perhaps you like betting on horses that have recently won a race. You have all of these options. But this is where the ANZ Ratings comes into its own, in that it also has an analyzer spreadsheet that can take the data out of the ratings website and analyze it. And that's where the power of it comes, because that really helps with formulating strategies. Now, I had a few strategies in mind when I started setting up using the stats here, but the Analyser spreadsheet allowed me to refine them a bit and see what did work, what didn't work, and if I had an idea that looked like it was coming close to working, I could fiddle with it for a little while and see what I could do to actually make it perform better. So let's go to, well, firstly, let's have a look here at data that comes out of the site. Now, if you go on the site down to the bottom of the list of meetings, you can select all meetings for the day, and it takes a few moments to load. But as you can see, it then starts giving you all of the meetings for the day, all of the details that it has. You can see in this race at Scone, for example, it's showing the clear thinking on that race. As an example, there was a non-runner there as well. You can scroll down, you can see you've got what was that? Gatton, Sale, Bathurst, Scone. Now this will include sometimes some non-Betfair meetings, and after the day's racing it may also include some abandoned races. So there is a little bit of filtering that you might want to do if you're pulling this data into the spreadsheet. That's something for another day. I'll probably come back to that. The spreadsheet probably deserves a day all by itself, really, of a video. So I will come back to that. But for today, just this quick look. Now, the data that comes out of that in the spreadsheet looks like this. It's very similar to what you saw in the bot. But you can see there's quite a lot of data in here. Now, the Analyser spreadsheet is this one here. Now, like most of Steve and Michael's spreadsheets, this uses macros, so it does require Microsoft Excel. It won't work in other spreadsheet software. I've found that most of their spreadsheets work in the Mac version of Microsoft Excel because Microsoft have put a fair bit of work into making their macros work cross-platform. Unfortunately, the Analyser spreadsheet is a bit more complicated in its macros. Some of the functions work in the Mac version of Excel. Some of the more important functions, like importing data, don't. They really do require the Windows version of Excel. So if, like me, you're using a Mac, you'll need a Windows system for that. Now, I run a Windows virtual machine on my Mac, so hence the reason I've got the spreadsheet running on there as well. It's running in Excel for Windows inside the virtual machine. Works perfectly fine. Sometimes the Mac's fan spins up a little bit when I'm crunching a fair bit of data in it because there's a lot of data I've imported. I've actually imported back to the start of February. I could probably go back further, but for the moment, 4 months plus is fine. But here we are in the spreadsheet. Now, if I just go over to the all runners, you can see here I've got every runner from every race, going back a very long time, going back to February, and if I scroll down, I've got down to the end of yesterday, which was the 10th of June. I'll just scroll a little bit further. There we go. So at the moment I have 109,355 runners in races in this spreadsheet. So it's a lot of data to crunch, but it can be very, very useful. So I've got set up in here at the moment a few strategies that came with the spreadsheet. I think they're in there mostly to show you what's possible. Some of them look like they might actually be profitable, some of them not so much, but they're in there, I think, mainly to give you an example of how to use the spreadsheet. And I've got some of my own strategies in there. If I go to strategy 14 and give it a moment to think about that, it does take a few moments. There's a lot of data in there for it to crunch. If I let it think about that, here we go. We end up with strategy 14, which is the one I have in the back one tab. So it's the strong APR and Betfair rated high JT percentage. And you can see a day-by-day rundown of how it would have looked. Now we can see on the left axis here the daily profit and loss. On the right axis here, the running profit and loss. And up the top here, we've got headline figures. Now this is all based on a $1 stake per horse. You can see here that it thinks this one would have had 4,707 bets in that time and would have had 1,291 winners. Now, the data in the spreadsheet, the data coming off the website for races that have been and gone, is looking at prices that Betfair had somewhere just before the jump. Now, I'm not sure if it's taking the data just before the market went in play, or if it's taking data from the time, the advertised start time of the race. I don't know. I do know it's somewhere close to the jump. So it might be slightly different to what you're seeing in your live results. And I can show you an example of that, in fact, with my strategy 17. I'll just give the system a moment. I go to, I think it's my strategy 17. While that's loading, let me check here and see if that's the one I want. Yes, my strategy 17, short race, high odds. This is still thinking. Strategy 17. Here we go. So yeah, strategy 17, short race, high odds. All right, apologies for the little edit there. I just had a moment there where I wasn't sure if this was the right strategy or not, but it is. So according to the spreadsheet, this Analyser spreadsheet, I should have had a couple winners in the few days that I've been running the strategy. So it thinks I should have had this one on the 4th, and there was one more, I think. Yeah, it doesn't really matter whether there was or wasn't. No, just that one by the looks of it. That's fine. I should have had this one on the 4th. According to the stats, it was paying $100. Now, why didn't I get that one? Well, this is what I'm talking about in terms of variance in prices. $100 is the upper end of my scale for the strategy. I suspect what's happened is that the horse was actually 1 or 2 ticks above that price when the bot went to look for it, and it's basically been outside the range at that time. It's come back in before the race has jumped, so I didn't get the bet placed. So if you're looking at some odds ranges that are probably on the higher end of things, I'd say anything over about $20, you might want to give a couple ticks worth of leeway. I'm probably going to have to adjust this strategy in the bot to be looking at maybe 110, 120, which is 1 or 2 ticks outside the range, just to cover these examples, because I have seen this in other things where I've tried with high odds on Betfair, that things at that odds range do move a fair bit in the moments leading up to the race, and when you're looking at that end of the odds range, a fair bit can be 1 or 2 ticks, and that's, $10, $20, $30, $40. It's a lot. So anyway, I'm drifting a little bit off track here, probably. So let's go back up to the top here. There we go. So even this strategy should be profitable in the long term. You can see it just has a fairly long time between profitable days. So I've got it set at the moment so that I'm only escalating that after 7 bad days. If I have a profit, then I'll go back to 1, but I'm not escalating daily on the stake size there. It's just escalating after a period of bad days, not each one. Anywho, the spreadsheet, being able to set up strategies. We'll look at the strategy settings. If I go up here a little bit to strategy 14, this is the one I was showing you my strong APR rating. So I'm looking, this is the one I was showing you in the bot not long ago. You can see here in the bot, I've got it set, it's these settings here. in the spreadsheet, it looks like this. I've got it bet APR rating of less than or equal to 4. I've also got that set here as equal to or greater than 1. Back odds of between 2 and 10. Jockey trainer rating of 80 plus. Betfair rating again between 1 and 4. You can fiddle with this as much as you want. Now, you've heard me say a number of times in these videos that that favourites win about a third of the time. Let's see how true that is. Let's set that up and see. Let's go in here. Let's set up a new strategy. Let's call it. Let's go in here. 20. So new strategy number 20. Favourite rating. Favourites. Let me find favourite here. Favourite is column AO. Okay, so let's put that in. Favourite is column AO. Populates string favourites. Okay, and let's 20 favourites. Let's call it favourites. Let's do that on the back odds. You can set up strategies here to test how they go with laying them as well. Update strategies. Go back to the main tab and let's see how strategy 20 looks. So, what sort of strike rate would we get out of backing the favourites? Well, I've said before it should be about a third of the races, but would it be profitable to just back the favourites at level staking? Here we are. Well, the answer to that is no. I mean, you didn't really need me to tell you that, did you? But here we are, strike rate of 38%. So favourites over this 4-month period in Australia and New Zealand and thoroughbred racing and harness racing have won 38% of their races. And if you were to back all of them at level staking, you at $1 per race, you would have lost $410.92. So that's not a winning strategy. But at least we know it, right? So what happens if we say, well, actually we want let's say we want the third favourite. You can do anything up to, I think, the third favourite. So third favourite, update, go back to main, and we'll have to type that in again to get it to refresh. We know the strike rate's going to be worse, but are they paying a better price in such a way that actually works well for us? I have my doubts, but let's see. Thinking, there we go. No. Strike rate of 13%, a loss of almost $1,400. Not looking good. Alright, one more thing. Let's change that to... Let's lay the favourites instead of the third favourites instead of backing them. Let's see what happens. It's not as bad, but it's certainly not good. Still a loss of $605. But look, strike rate of 87%. That sort of strike rate, maybe there's something there if you're looking at something like a stop at a winner staking system. Maybe third favourites there are good. So you could play with that. Maybe that works for you. But if you're looking for stats, well, let's see something that this bot would actually be useful for. Let's see, what if we back third favourites that came first at their last start. So again, we'll just change this back to backing them rather than laying them. Update that there. Go back in. Okay. So here we are, third favourites that won at their last start. Not great, still a loss of $160, but it's better than it was. You could certainly play with that and see what it got you, but you can start to see how this spreadsheet actually can be quite useful. Get in a lot of old data and see and play with it and see what you get. So this, as I showed you, this is the strategy that's been performing the best for me. The graph will update. There we go. So this is my my strong APR and Betfair rating with the high jockey trainer win rate at the track, and you can see here the graph of how it's performed. You can see day by day. I can switch it to a monthly view if I want. That will take a few moments to load, but I can do that instead. So you can see here this month so far not so good, but that's because the first Saturday of the month was a little bit of a disaster, let's just say. All of the East Coast tracks were just saturated with heavy rain. A bunch of meetings got abandoned, and I looked at a few of the so-called expert tippers, and some of them don't perform great anyway, but even some of the ones that do perform reasonably well, they had pretty bad days as well. So it just was not a good day for betting on horse racing. But then, anyway, down the side here you can see every selection that that system would have taken in that time. You can see what odds it was, where it was, how it performed. You can get a lot out of that. So when you've got a strategy that you're happy with, you can take it into the bot. You can set it in the bot here, and away it goes. Now, so far today, it has had one bet, and it was not a winner. The first race of the day at Sale, number 10, Whiskey Tango, well, it didn't win. Oh well. We'll see what happens in later races, I suppose. What I will show you, though, some of this most recent Saturday from my Betfair account. This is not delineating between strategies. They're all in here mixed together, of course. But you can see there's a few winners here. There's this one here at Morfordville, paid $7.20. There's one at $2.90, one at $5.60. There's one at $6.40. One here at $7.20. So it's picking some decent priced winners, which is helpful. I've got this one here at Belmont, Russian Sniper, highlighted, paying $6.40, simply because I plucked that one out at random and I loaded up the bot's log so I could show you what the bot does when it's looking through the race. So that was race 4 at Belmont on Saturday, and I've loaded the log from Saturday up into Excel, and then just filtered it down to Belmont and the strategy in back 1. So it does a number of things. It checks that the market meets the criteria for matched amount and active runners. A few more things. It eventually gets to checking which horses are within the odds range. Now, the odds range for this one is between $2 and $10. So it sees that there's 4 horses in range. Number 1, Famous Journey. Number 3, Capricorn Man. Number 5, Russian Sniper. Number 6, Capo Veloce, which I'm probably butchering the pronunciation of. So it's determined that it's got 4 runners that are in the odds range, so then it goes and checks the stats on them. So, starting off with number 1, Famous Journey. Well, it was qualified on the APR ratings. It was within the range. Not qualified on the JT ratings. Still checks the rest, but it wasn't qualified, so we move on. Number 3, same deal. Qualified on APR, not qualified on JT. Russian Sniper, qualified on the APR ratings. It was number 4 on the APR ratings. Qualified on the JT ratings, 100% strike rate for that jockey trainer combo, apparently. qualified on the Betfair prediction rankings. They had it coming second, so we know it's eligible. It checks the remaining horse as well. It was not qualified on the APR ratings. It was 9th, so not qualified on the JT ratings, not qualified on the Betfair ratings either. So I only have one qualified horse, so that's number 5, Russian Sniper. So then the bot goes through and places the bet on that one. It got $6.40 on it. The bet was a winner. It records a profit after commission of $14.58. It was a $16.20 profit according to Betfair. This page doesn't show commission, so you take off the commission is probably about right. I've got the bot set at 10%. Some meetings in Australia for horse racing are 7%, some are 8%, some are 10%. I've just got it set at 10 across the board. It's easier that way. I know that the profit numbers that the bot is reporting will be slightly under what I'm actually getting, so I don't have to think too much about it. I know that if the bot's telling me I got $35 on a day, I probably got a few cents more than that. Not going to make a big difference, but it's nice to know that the bot is underestimating the value from the day. There's some good results on 2 of the strategies so far. The others, well, the short race high odds, I'm going to have to expand that odds range slightly because it has missed a winner that the analyzer said it should have had. The others, they're tracking roughly according to what the analyzer says they should be. So that's also useful with the analyzer. You can take your live results, compare them to what the analyzer says you should be seeing, and see, am I seeing it? Are these results matching my results? If they are, great. If not, why? And if you're looking at some higher odds ranges in particular, it's probably simply because you've filtered out a runner that really should have been in there, just based purely on the movements of the market. Now, something else the analyzer spreadsheet can do is take in data from before the day's races have started. If you want to pick out some horses manually, you can set up some strategies in there and get it to show you what horses would be eligible in that day. Again, something I should show you on another day because this video's gone on for long enough. But I will come back with more results from this and take you through the spreadsheet a bit more. I think that deserves quite a bit of time, maybe take you through the website a little bit more as well. I did gloss over those details a bit. There's a lot to cover, so I think it's worth some more time later on. Anyway, that's what I'm doing at the moment with stats, and I think that is a good way to, I suppose, to improve the ability of these systems to turn profits. Working on odds ranges alone, it can work. It's also a lot of hard work. Even if you're not doing the hard work, even if it's the bot sitting there, it still can be a slow, tedious process trying to find something that works purely on odds ranges. Can be done, but you're probably going to find you'll have better results if you're looking purely at, well, not purely, but if you're adding in stats as well. And that's what I'm doing here, and certainly I'll show you more of that at some stage. I should quickly show you, I did show you briefly the settings I have for back 1. Back 2, which is my, what do I call that one? That's the first up maidens, I think. Spreadsheets are disappearing on me here. Here we go. First up maidens with a high jockey trainer win rate. So I've got that set to anything between $1.50 and $20. It's Australia, New Zealand, and harness racing. I do have some of these set to not include harness racing, but this one does include harness racing. Incidentally, if you are in the UK and you're watching this, well, Australian harness racing, the better races are in the evening Australian time, which is the morning your time. So Australia, New Zealand horse racing, which is in the middle of the night for you, maybe it's not of all that much interest to you, although certainly if you can automate it, there's some opportunity there. But if you want to see some good racing out of Australia, Harness racing, our higher grade races are usually in the evening, which is the morning your time, and there's some fantastic racing there. So that might interest you, and this bot can do that, and the Analyser spreadsheet can help you with selections for that as well. So I think that's something to keep in mind. I've gone off topic again, and I will again in a moment because I've seen something else, but I was showing you the statistics settings. So this one's really simple. I'm looking at horses with a win rate of 0, so they're maidens, and a jockey trainer rating of 90% or more, and it has to be first up. Again, as I said earlier, my thinking on this was that if it's first up off a spell, so it's being brought back from a spell, and it's being brought back with a jockey and trainer combo at a track where that jockey and trainer have a very high win rate, I think there's a good chance that horse is being brought back for a reason. And there's also a good chance, because it is a maiden, that is coming back off a spell, that the market may have given it a bit of a higher price than maybe is warranted, and we can certainly take advantage of that. And it's nice to be able to have the bot sit there and find those through the day. What I'm going to take you off topic with slightly here, although it's not exactly off topic, as I sit here, I did notice we did just have a winner. So this is the back one strategy at Gatton. Number 7, Jojo Rabbit, just won at a price of $8.40. So that is a good result. I'm certainly happy with that. And you can see here there have been other results. Back one strategy yesterday afternoon at Mornington had a $12. No, it had an $8 winner. We're doing $2 stakes yesterday. Had an $8 winner. You can see there's a $3 winner, a $4.60 winner, a $2.50 winner. So, there's plenty there to see. Anyway, look, I've gone on for long enough. Links to the ANZ Bot, the ANZ Ratings, the ANZ Analyser are all in the link below. And I will come back with more at another time. This has been a long video. Thank you for sticking with me. Send me any questions you have, and good luck. I hope the statistics help you.